So, a very common thing that you might want to do when dealing with basically any type of sensor that's hooking into a microcontroller is you're going to want to figure out its calibration curve. Or, in other words, figure out how to relate what you should be measuring to the ADC value that you're reading. So usually the units of the ADC, we call it counts. And so let's say that I did an experiment where I had some sort of position sensor hooked up uh, to an actuator that uh, expands or contracts. And so it looks like it's got a range of, completely closed to 0 centimeters to 5 centimeters. And these are the ADC readings that I got. Right, these are the readings that I measured. And whatever the range is, it doesn't really matter. This is just what I happen to measure. So what I can do is, I can put them in. I'm using LibreOffice Calc, but it works the same exact way in Excel. I can go to Insert. Uh, oops. Oh. Uh, Whoa. I can't believe that this is escaping me here. We should insert chart. There we go. And then what you're going to want to do is a scatter chart. And we can see here this is kind of what we want. And I'm going to do that. And you can see I did my I did the measured that I actually had to measure this, right, and validate that this was 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then measure the corresponding ADC reading. So just to be clear, this is measured, right? I measured this position. So you're always going to have some way to validate that kind of stuff. Like maybe you're doing a temperature sensor, well, you're going to have to find a way to see what the temperature actually is, right? With maybe like a thermometer or something. Anyway, that's beside the point. So we've got this chart, and we can see that our relationship is as the ADC, as what we're measuring, the ADC increases, that means the position is also increasing. And it looks fairly linear. We kind of have a little blip here, but what we want to do is we want to insert a trend line. So I just right click the data set and insert a trend line. And you should see something that kind of comes up like this. You might have more or less options, but so this looks like a linear relationship. So that's what I'm going to select. But there's a lot of different choices, right? We could try and fit a log curve to it, an exponential or power, depending on what your data looks like. But this looks like it's linear. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show my equation here. And sometimes looking at this r squared value can be nice. This kind of gives you an idea of how fit your line is to your data. The more fit it is, the more close it's going to be to 1. So when we look at this now, we see that we kind of have, it's pretty good. This point right here looks like a little bit of an outlier. It looks like we might have had some sort of error there. So that might be, you might want to redo that until you kind of have a nice line, or you could measure the points multiple times and take averages. There's lots of different ways that you can do something like that. Anyway, so this is the expression that defines this line here. So what that means is, say I have let's just use Calc's capabilities here. Let's say that I got let's say I got this value in 28. Now let's use this expression to figure out what the position should be, right? What we kind of want to extrapolate what that position would be. If our microcontroller is getting a count of 28, where is the position? So we can just use this equation here. So I'm going to kind of simplify it here. We're going to have 0.0654, and that should be good enough. We're gonna multiply it by this, and we actually kind of get a little bit of an offset here, so we're gonna minus 0.4976. We'll just do that. So let's see if that makes any sense, right? We're kind of at like 28, and we're saying we're at 1.3. Yeah, that kind of fits with our data. So this is something that you would put in your program, right? In your firmware for your robot or whatever you're doing to figure out what the actual units of your measurement, not the counts, but the actual units from your sensor, what they are.